If you love used PC parts and you love looking for used PC deals, then today's video might just be for you, where it is not just the end of the month here at Tech Yes City, but also the end of 2024. And that means that we're going on a used PC parts hunt of the month. In this one, we've already got a few deals lined up, actually 3 graphics card deals, and we're gonna go pick them up right now. The first of which is an RTX 3060, and in USD terms, it'd be around, I think, 150-ish USD. This is the 12 gigabyte model, and I'll put the Aussie dollar pricing, what I'm paying for it, up on the screen so you guys have a reference of the prices I'm paying for these parts. And also in today's parts hunt, I've got some really good news too about the used market, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. Let's go hit the road and see what these deals have installed for us.
If you want to get rid of this annoying activate Windows message, then today's video sponsor SCD Keys has you covered for as little as $15 US. After you enter that coupon code BFTYC, you can cop yourself a legit single end user license today. Also works for Windows 11 Pro too. Links in the description below.
So here's our RTX 3060 12 gigabyte for 250 Aussie dollars. I mean, at this price, man, who really cares about the new graphics cards on the mid-range? I mean, this thing's dirt cheap and we're getting some extremely good price performance here. But the next deal may even just be better, and that is a GTX 1080 Ti Founders Edition. Now, they're asking 200 Aussie dollars for this. I put in an offer of 150 and they came back to us and said, look, make it 180. And I'm like, nah. And then they came back actually like an hour later and said, look, come and get it for 150. So we're gonna go get that 1080 Ti right now. And then hopefully after that, there's also this RTX 4060 Ti that we put in an offer. They were asking 500, we put in an offer of 400. They actually came back at 450, and then I just sat there and said, nah, man, sorry, 400's the max I'm gonna pay for a used graphics card. So kind of like reminding them that, hey, this is a used graphics card. Even though they said they've only been using it for a couple of months, I'm just like, nah, this is a used graphics card. Come on, do us the deal, man. Anyhow, we're gonna go get this 1080 Ti, and then also, when we get the 1080 Ti, we're gonna look for a few more deals too. So we just picked up the GTX 1080 Ti. Now they did say that it is a little bit dirty, but it works fine. And they're upgrading to a new RTX 4070. So again, 150 Aussie dollars for that is an absolute bargain. But then I also asked, do they have any other PC parts when I picked this deal up? And they just said yes, they actually have a 120mm water cooler that they pulled out from their system, and they're upgrading the CPU, RAM, and motherboard. But they already apparently sold the motherboard and CPU and RAM as well. But they had this water cooler, so yeah, we got that for free. They ended up just chucking it in. They said you could have it for nothing. So I was like, cool. And they couldn't, unfortunately, find the mounting kit for it. At least it's got this top ring on it, which is very important, because if I don't have that, I'm pretty screwed. But other than that, I can make the, I got spare mounting kits actually over the years. I usually chuck in the base kits when I don't have them, but it's really, I never really come into these top parts here. It's usually the under brackets that are spare from when you get a water cooler. They'll have a AM5 or an AM4 kit, and then also have an Intel kit, and you sort of keep the one that you're not using as leftovers. And yeah, and then you can sort of make magic work with something like that. However, right now we're going to go pick up that RTX 4060 Ti, and also we're going to ask them if they've got any more PC parts. But also, quickly in my car, I did find an ad for a lot of different cases. So they got some pretty interesting cases that they're selling for $300, as well as a heap of fans and AMD coolers, as well as Corsair power supplies, cables for the power supplies. So I offered 150, they came back at 200. I just said, look, man, 150. So it looks like I'm the only guy who kind of wants this stuff. But again, at 150 for 5 cases, as well as those Corsair power supply cables, I've ran out of power supply cables for Corsair power supplies, which I used in the past. And so they do come in handy when people are just flipping power supplies that don't have any cables, and I can pick up bargains on those like I did in the past. Anyhow, let's go get this 4060 Ti and then check that out, and we'll get this other deal. Okay, so we just picked up the 4060 Ti. The guy said it didn't have the box, but I quickly checked the barcode and made sure the model checks out, and so I'm not getting hosed or anything like that. We kind of got to hurry because we're like in just the middle of a driveway of a complex. So what we're going to do now is make haste to these 5-case deal, and then make haste home because I'm just starving. It's actually still bright outside, and it's nearly 7 p.m. So the sun's staying out long here in the summer in Australia. Anyhow, guys, let's go get the case deal and get that feed. So we just picked up those 5 cases, and there was also a keyboard and mouse in there, as well as a heap of Corsair cables. But right now, someone got back to us about these office PCs. I messaged them way earlier in the day. There was 2 of them for $50, and they're 4th gen. And then one of them apparently doesn't work, but again, 2 PCs for $50. I just said, could you drop it at all? And they said, yeah, they can do it for $40 cash. So we're gonna go pick that up right now because they got back to us finally with an address. And also they said they have more, but I just said, look, I'm on the road, stomach is growling, I'm really hungry, and I'll check it out when I get there. And if they got any other good stuff, we'll pick that up too. But let's make haste because yeah, there's a Tech Yes feed waiting. Okay, what are they?
I sort of forgot it. There's 3 iMacs over there that I think one of them works, and it's a really old
they
ones.
iMacs.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it, man. Yeah. Hey, do you want your $60 too?
Oh, yeah.
Bring out the last one. Yeah, cool. I'll just start loading me in the car. Yeah. Cheers. So we now just picked up the final deal of the night. The guy ended up having the 2 PCs for 40, and then he had another one for another 20. So I just said, look, I'll take all 3. And yeah, feed time. And here we are now, unpacked everything at the Tech Yes studio. And this case right here, man, I don't know. It looks bad, but it looks so bad that it might actually look good. So that's a weird one. And then we've got these other 4 cases here, and they look pretty good. 3 of them just being your typical fans installed, tempered glass side panel. And then we've got this mini ITX build up here, and I was looking at the graphics card clearance, and it's like this 4060 Ti, this would be perfect, because I believe this model in particular, this 4060 Ti, is an ITX, like the really small builds. This thing's one of those favorites for that. Anyhow, all those parts on the table. We've got this box right here, as we mentioned before. There's a keyboard included, which was pretty cool, and a mouse, and then all those cables. And then we've got these 3 budget PCs here, and of course our 3 graphics cards at the front here, which I am going to do all the testing to see if everything works 100%. Well, actually, one of these PCs doesn't work properly, the guy said. So that's not a problem. We'll figure that out tomorrow as well. And we'll look for some new deals. And you probably hear by the tone of my voice, I'm already feeling good because got home, smashed a feed, and now I'm going to go to bed really happy because if something doesn't work, if I find out I've been hosed, that will put me off my sleep, man. That's just like, it's the worst thing in the world for a used PC parts hunter to get that. It hurts, man. It hurts, the hosing. You don't you don't bounce back from it overnight, but you do bounce back pretty quick. Anyhow, let's get some rest, and we'll see in the morning if we got hosed on the GPUs. That's the main one. These budget PCs right here, like, I'm sure there's going to be 60 Aussie dollars of parts in them. So all our 3 GPUs work absolutely fine when we're benchmarking them through Heaven, except the GTX 1080 Ti is definitely going to need a repaste where it's hitting just 80 degrees really quickly, and then you put your hand on the backplate, for instance, and just feel around the cooler, and it's not getting that hot, which means contact between the heatsink and the GPU die is not that great. But I mean, for its age, I'm actually like impressed that these cards just still hold up so well, being the flagship model back in the day. So I guess that's another win, big win for the 1080 Ti. I mean, this stage, this GPU is looking like it was the GOAT. And I mean, it still is a relevant card for today's performance. But let's check out anyhow those 3 potatoes that we picked up for 60 bucks and see if, like, what's the deal with them. So now we finished testing out those 3 PCs that we pick up for 20 bucks each, and there's some really good news, and that is all 3 of the PCs work fine, except one of the PCs had this GPU that I've never seen before. And it was like, I don't even know like what it was. It just had no labeling on it. Anyhow, that didn't work at all. So we just used our test GPU to make sure that that system worked fine, and it did. So the good news is I got 3 PCs for about like 20 Aussie dollars each, or 13 USD a pop. And they've all got 4th gen i5s. So I think that was actually a really good score. And then also on top of that, I then went back and checked the 1080 Ti. We started cleaning this thing up, and man, the amount of screws you have to remove on a 1080 Ti Founders just to get this little heat sink out and then change the thermal paste is insane. It's like an expedition tour just to change over the thermal paste. So was really surprised by that. And then actually, I'm just testing. You're probably wondering what this PC is over here. I'm getting distracted by this. It's like we're running OCCT. So I sold the system, and then it's just come back because the person's complaining about problems. Like it was black screening, and I'm just going through it thoroughly here. And it's like, look how many errors are popping up on this. So that PC, I'm just trying a few different things now. I do suspect it does have a faulty CPU. That's the Ryzen 7 1700, and it was actually not one that I bought on any of those deals hunts. It was actually, the person traded a PC in for $100, and I knew it had problems at the time, but I thought it was the RX 580 because I had a spare RX 580, so I changed that over. And then I left it in Heaven on low settings for a good hour, and that wasn't the issue, so I thought, oh, the PC's okay. But obviously, there's sometimes when you're flipping PCs, there is a rare issue that comes out, and a CPU being faulty is definitely rare. But we'll get more info on that. I'll probably drop a comment down below because I'll have to spend a bit of time with that. But in terms of PCs, guys, the sales, let's quickly talk about that before we get back to the parts hunt. And PC sales, at the start of the month, I was really worried about how things were looking. And actually, I spoke to a few different people, and we're all like starting to, at least locally here, starting to doubt ourselves. Like, are we doing something wrong? Is there something happening that we're missing out on? And it was none of that. It was just a terrible sales period right up until like a week before Christmas. And then what happened then was it was just like someone just opened the gates up, and all these people wanted gaming PCs. And it was just, I haven't seen a roller coaster go from such a low to such a high so quick. But in terms of the flood itself, definitely a good flood, solid in terms of customers coming in, but that was just that week. Now we're back to after Christmas, and it's still okay. So I'm hoping that it lasts a few more weeks, because I'm actually starting to clear off my shelves here, and I'm almost done. So it's really good that that's happening. But in the meantime, we're picking up some budget bangers. I think all over that Christmas period, all price levels were moving, whether it was low end, mid range, or high end. And so I was complaining about the mid range being bad. I cleaned out all my mid range, and now I'm just sort of like, I got to get a heap of GTX 1080s and 1070 PCs all flipped up. But not to worry, because we've got really cheap cases, as we saw in this parts hunt here. And speaking of further deals, I was looking around for a heap of different deals, like RX 6900 XTs and things like that. And just the prices people want for that stuff, it really isn't worth it, especially considering a lot of the new GPUs are kind of crashing down in sales. Like someone linked me a RX 7800 XT, and that was like $679. And I'd actually rather just get that than a 6900 XT. So there's definitely some really good new deals to be picked up. Though me personally, I love focusing on the used deals. I think that is where all the action is happening. And unfortunately, going forward this month, I cannot find any good deals. I mean, it is New Year's Eve right now, so I do wish each and every one of you a happy New Year's out there. But yeah, today I'm coming up empty-handed, and it's moving into the afternoon, and kind of want to get this video out before the end of the year because it's a special parts hunt. But in terms of that 1080 Ti in the background, we changed the thermal paste over, and it's still hitting 84 degrees. And when I'm looking at the amount of actual heat sink you get with the 1080 Ti founders, it's actually kind of underwhelming in terms of, at least for the 1080 Ti. So I'll definitely have to undervolt that if I'm flipping it in a rig, as I don't like it really running at 84 degrees like it's doing in the background, because yeah, you're getting just reduced performance too, because it's throttling itself. Anyhow, guys, in terms of all the parts that we got this month, I'll put the tally up on the screen for you here. Do let us know what your favorite deal of the month was. Me personally, after I put all the effort and time into that 1080 Ti founders, I'm going to go with that as my favorite deal, but also 60 Aussie dollars for 3 PCs that all work, and they've all got DDR3 memory. I think that's a pretty cool one too, and I did pull out a 120 gigabyte SSD. Now, in terms of the economy and the market going forward, at least in Australia here, the conditions still stand as a rough market going forward. I think that is, I'm not looking forward to January and February, to be honest, in terms of how low the demand will be. But we'll see how it goes. We'll weather the storm. I do find, though, since I've upped my competition and just made my prices really competitive, when the flood came and the amount of people wanting to get gaming PCs came in, I was doing really well. So I'm going to stick with competitive pricing. I think the market is tough right now. There's a lot of competition also from new PCs, where I've seen some outlets in Australia, for instance, Aussie dollars, under 700 Aussie dollars for like an RTX 4060 PC. And if that was in USD, that'd be under 500 USD. And that's extremely competitive for a whole PC with what I would say arguably has a better CPU. I think they were using like an i5 12400F, as opposed to me, I'm sometimes using like an i7 8700K or something like that. So 12400F is going to do a better job. And of course, that PC is new. So really tough competition right now, and definitely a great pick-me-up for the end of the year, finishing off with a bang, not just with the deals, but also at least getting some sales to redeem myself, because the months before that were really bad when I go back to Australia here. It was incredibly slow, and even with me being competitive, it was incredibly slow right up until before Christmas. So if it's any insight for you guys out there, just keep doing what you're doing and just keep getting the really good deals, as what I'm doing is always get the really good deals, and you can always afford to drop your margins and remain even more competitive and keep things moving. But also the final thing we'll talk about is I'm noticing that the used deals are actually kind of drying up too. There's just a lot of PCs in my area that are coming up kind of cheap, but not cheap enough for me to buy them and flip them. I mean, it just seems like the actual deals on single end parts is kind of not really there. And if they are there, they go extremely quick, because I picked up that 1080 Ti founders really quick. I also picked up the RTX 4060 Ti really quick. So being on these deals, and I think being fast, again, the whole market, whether it's new, used, whether you're selling a PC, buying a part, the whole thing's getting kind of hyper competitive where I am. So definitely into the new year, I'm gonna have to get on my workout game, get on my kimchi, my kefir, green tea, baked beans. You guys know the list. If there's things that I forgot, make sure you hit them up in the comment section below. But also, Happy New Year's to you guys, each and every one of you guys. I'll catch you in another tech video in 2025. Thank you guys for all the support, and also big thanks for the 600,000 subscriber mark here at Tech Yes City. Love each and every one of you guys. I've definitely just, had a bit more of a roller coaster ride myself this year. It's been a roller coaster ride for 2024. Hasn't been the best year at all, and I think I speak on behalf of a lot of people. 2024 has just been a really weird year in general, and hopefully 2025 picks up. But in terms of the macroeconomic conditions, we'll take a good look at that in January and see what's going to unfold. But it just seems like, things are getting tighter and crunchier in Australia, to the point where is the S gonna hit the fan, perhaps. Anyhow, guys, I'll catch you in another tech video very soon. Peace out for now. Bye.